Hello, on behalf of the Flares and Osteoarthritis Working Group, thanks for watching this video. In just 5 minutes, we're going to provide an overview of the proposed domains of osteoarthritis, or OA, flare. In brief, this means the components that cover what a hip or knee OA flare is. This video will also describe how we got to this important point leading into the OMRAC 2020 meeting. But first, need a refresher on what OMRAC is or what the domain selection is all about? Then head to the OMRAC website and check out 2 short videos that will bring you up to speed. The OMRAC Flares and OA Working Group was formed in 2015, bringing together patients, researchers, and clinicians and other stakeholders from around the world. The gap? Patients with OA don't always have a stable or linear course. In fact, patients frequently describe experiencing a flare in their symptoms that has a big impact on their lives. This has also been observed by health professionals. It was traditionally being defined as an episodic increase in pain from baseline, but patients were reporting that the impact was greater than pain alone. Our early review of this found there was no existing standardized definition of OA flare and no way to measure it in research studies. The mission? First, to identify the domains of hip or knee OA flare using OMRAC methodology. Second, to follow this with developing a composite measure incorporating these domains. Guided by OMRAC publications and the workbook, the group took on this mission following multiple steps. The first step was a literature review to see how OA flare was described to date in the scientific literature by patients, researchers, and clinicians. This told us that OA flare was commonly being used as an outcome or inclusion criteria in rheumatology trials, but confirmed that we lacked a standardized way to define or measure it. This work was published in 2017. The next step involved qualitative interviews with key stakeholders, patients, and health professionals to understand the meaning and characteristics of OA flare. Interviews were conducted with 29 patients and 16 health professionals in Australia and France, and these generated 180 statements that characterized an OA flare. These were analyzed and grouped into light clusters and were subsequently labeled by the multidisciplinary team that included patients, researchers, and clinicians. The Flares and OA Working Group condensed these statements into 9 potential domains. Then came the fine-tuning. We sought agreement among a larger number of patients and health professionals around the world on the domains. 2 rounds of Delphi survey were conducted in both patients and health professionals to gather their collective opinions and facilitate group consensus. In the first round, 91 patients and 165 health professionals participated, and 50 and 116 in the second round, respectively. Patients came from Canada, France, and Australia, while health professionals were from 17 countries across 4 continents. From the Delphi surveys, both patients and health professionals agreed to keep 7 domains and reject 2 others. Further refining of the domains was done at the 2018 OMRAC meeting in Australia during a virtual meeting of the working group. 1 domain was removed because it was felt to reflect causes of flare rather than flare itself. 2 domains were merged into 1 domain called Impact of Symptoms, and voila, 5 domains were left. This work was published in early 2019. Using data generated in the qualitative research phase and the 180 statements generated by patients and health professionals, definitions of each of the domains were developed in English and French. A final consensus survey was completed in January 2020 with 38 patients and 89 health professionals in 2 languages and across 3 continents who endorsed the domains and their definitions. Participant comments relating to the definitions were used to further refine terminology. Based on 5 years of work, including a systematic literature review, qualitative interviews, 2 Delphi rounds, and a final consensus survey, the OMRAC Flares and OA Working Group proposes 5 domains of hip or knee OA flare, with definitions unique to a flare episode that can be used to develop a composite measure. The domains are pain during flares, swelling during flares, stiffness during flares, psychological aspects during flares, and impact of symptoms. Heading into the OMRAC 2020 meeting, we feel a large body of work supports the proposed domains of hip and knee OA flare. We hope you agree. Thank you for being part of our live virtual vote, and if you haven't already, download the app so you're all set to go.